It's my pleasure to introduce the three candidates for the Rossmoor Community Services District. In order of seating, we have Konya Vivanti, Tony DeMarco, and Ann Remnet. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to spend the evening with us. We're going to start with, and we're going to rotate the order a little bit because we did organically see some advantage to going first or second. So we'll organically rotate it a bit. But for the intro and the first question, the order will be the same. We'll start with Tony, and it was done by draw, so we did a little hat draw. We'll start with Tony, then we'll go to Mary, then to Konya. Mary Ann, I'm sorry. Mary Ann, and then to Konya. And we'd like to give you 2 minutes to just share a little bit about yourself and what you'd like to do with the community.
Great.
And this is for the Rossmoor Community Service District Board positions. Tony?
Okay, thank you. Bob, Marion, thank you very much for putting this on and being here. I want to thank the RHA for putting this on. I know it took a lot of work, so I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony DeMarco. I'm honored to be here before you, and I'm running for Rossmoor Community Services Director. My journey to the beautiful Rossmoor began in 2005. My wife and I and my family moved here. We raised all three of our kids. They're finally out of the house, and we're empty nesters now. I like to give back to my community. I've been on the current board since 2013. I have a small store in unincorporated East Los Angeles. There I'm the president of the Merchant Association on Whittier Boulevard. I'm also a pawnbroker, and we have a state association. I'm past president of that association. I'm current ledge chair of that association. We just got the governor to sign 2 of our bills this year. So I bring to the board of Rossmoor, or to the community, a lot of lifelong lessons and being in county. I bring connections with county officials. I know how the county works, the departments that are made up of the county. In Sacramento, I know how that works. And all of that affects our little tiny community, great community of Rossmoor. So I enjoy being, oh, that was 2 minutes. Okay, we'll be back. Thank you. That went quick.
2 minutes?
First of all, thank you, RHA, for putting this on, because as we know, we're getting fewer and fewer opportunities to be able to get our message out to the people, and we do work to serve you. So everyone, thanks for coming out tonight. It's really great to see so many familiar faces and new ones. It really shows how much we care about our community. I've been part of Rossmoor for 30 years, over 30 years, marrying into an original owner family. Like a lot of people in the sandwich generation, we found ourselves coming back more and more frequently to help our aging parents. And then eventually we moved back full-time in 2011 to help Art's dad and become caregivers for him. That experience gave me a great understanding of what's important to everyone that lives in this community, from families to retirees. I've worked with local schools. I'm a volunteer at a lot of levels, a lot of places, and supported youth programs and teamed up with citizen advisory groups on projects that really make a difference to the people in all of our communities, Rossmoor and the surrounding areas. Whether it's creating opportunities for kids or making sure seniors have what they need to feel valued and secure, I'm committed to making Rossmoor a place where everyone feels like they belong. I'm running for the Community Services District Board to keep advocating for our parks and facilities. The shared spaces that we committed to take care of when we voted to authorize through bonds that purchased these properties and the fundings to take care of them. Tonight, I'm eager to answer any questions that are presented to me, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of things that aren't answered. I'm always available and want you to be finding me prior to making your voice, to make sure that, one, I know what you want represented, and two, that I'm representing what's good for the community. So I have, if you don't have one now, this looks a lot like my sign. It has an availability of how to reach me, and also the main things that I represent and that I believe in.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Konya, 2 minutes,
Thank you.
introduction.
Hi, my name's Konya Vivanti. I've lived in Rossmoor for 27 years. I've raised 2 adult daughters now, who I'm also now an empty nester, and getting used to that. I have a unique experience. I have worked in the last 30 years in local government, and so I bring to the district something a little different than other people who might currently be on the board or running on the board. So my experience has been in trash and recycling, in stormwater and sewer, in tree maintenance, street sweeping. I currently oversee a $6.8 million trash contract. I currently am working in local government. I've worked for a city for the last 18 years. And prior to that, I've worked for other cities such as Garden Grove, Culver City. But I started my public service career 30 years ago with the County of Orange as an intern. So I am very intimately aware of who to speak to and who to reach out to get problems solved. I've worked in public works my entire career and also have a background in transportation. Just a little about me. I have a master's degree in public administration, so that's another aspect that I bring to the district as a director. I feel that living in Rossmoor is a joy, and I'm so thankful that I live here, and it's just figured it was time to finally give back to my own community. Having worked in other communities and working for them, it's time to work for my own community here and give back my skill set and my expertise to Rossmoor residents. Thank you.
Tony, I'll start question 1 with you. If elected to represent our beautiful neighborhood of Rossmoor, what is one thing you'd like to improve within Rossmoor community limits?
One thing.
One thing. Well, the question's one thing.
Let's see, I had my list here. And remember, we only have jurisdiction in 4 things, yet we talk a lot, or we help solve many things that affect Rossmoor. I think, for me, it's always been public safety and the community's safety. Having 3 kids roaming around Rossmoor streets, I always wanted them safe and secure. I think the one thing that, the parks are fantastic. We need to manage them. We need to manage street sweeping, our lights. But I don't like the theft and the burglaries that are happening in Rossmoor. And I would like to look into getting license plate readers at our entries or exits in Rossmoor. I know that there is a web of these cameras all throughout Orange County, and they are solving a lot of, catching a lot of bad guys. And I've been sitting on this board too long and seeing the reports every quarter about catalytic converters, about just the other day was a license plate that was stolen. And I would like to see or look into having those put into Rossmoor. Thank you.
Mary Ann, same question. If elected to represent our beautiful neighborhood of Rossmoor, what's one thing you'd like to improve within Rossmoor community limits?
Within the community limits really pertains to my role as a director and what I'd like to improve within the directorship. And that would be aligning the policies and the plans of our community so that we can advance our community. One of the things that I see, and here's an example of that, we have a playground, and the playground structure in it was put in place in 2001, and we're told, we patch it, we fix it, we repair it. Once upon a time, it was going to be replaced with a grant. We did other things with it, so I'm not criticizing that. But to be able to get grant money, there has to be positive involvement. There has to be a way to have a plan for if we get a grant, what are we going to do with it? Those plans don't exist anymore, and that concerns me because nationwide, 200,000 kids a year make emergency room visits, and a lot of them get traumatic brain injuries. Of that, I don't want any kids hurt, and I don't want insurance claims. We really do need parks that are up to what the community needs, including ADA accessibility. The second thing, and that is the planning component. The policy side of life is related to the playground and the grants. We have things that are outdated, like it relates to work within Fund 40. Fund 40 is the capital improvement reserves. That was depleted and closed about 3 or 4 years ago. We don't have any dedicated capital reserves to be planning for our future. These are things that it's not up to me to do. It's up to the administration and general manager to plan for and for the directors to guide it. And the community should know where things are going. So those are the things I find really important and that I would be focusing on.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Konya, same question. If elected to represent our beautiful neighborhood of Rossmoor, what's one thing you'd like to improve within our Rossmoor community limits?
One of the things that I'm interested is maintaining our current infrastructure, and doing so working with the different agencies to make sure that Rossmoor is represented and not forgotten. So whether it's at the county level or with the LaSalle Sewer or with any other agency, I want to make sure that our sidewalks are maintained, our streets are maintained, our trash services picked up, and that our street lights are maintained, but really the infrastructure, which also includes the parks, and that they're well maintained, and that we're not wasting water, irrigation is fixed, and that the playgrounds and all the equipment is safe for our children to play on, and that they're inspected on a regular basis. So just basic overall infrastructure is something that is very important to me.
Thank you, Konya.
All right. Mary Ann, I'll be asking you the next question, followed by Konya and then Tony. Try to give you guys some order there. The question is, and I'll repeat the question each time to each one of you, so you don't have to worry about that. Mary Ann, what can be done to ensure safety in the neighborhood regarding e-bike riding for pedestrians, vehicle drivers, and e-bike operators alike?
That's an interesting question because e-bikes is something that is being struggled with at a statewide level all the way down. I serve on the Orange County Transportation Administration Citizens Advisory Commission for Active Transportation and the Bicycle and Pedestrian Subcommittee. And we meet on a monthly basis to talk about what's happening with legislation, what are other communities doing, what ideas do you have for our community, what makes things better. Currently, last Tuesday, I met and found out that there's some grant money coming available that the OCTA is working with to run studies to be able to get the data to say, how safe are our streets? What are the injuries? What's going on? What would help so that we're actually looking at what's happening before we start telling people what to do and what not to do. It's complex because we have seniors who are finding bicycles, e-bikes, easier to use. And when we have seniors that are living a mile from a park, I'd like them to be able to get to our parks. When we have kids that are being trained in our schools, okay, we can do better. Let's work on doing that. But let's work as a team to see how we can open up and expand things. If we're talking about e-bikes, I'd like to see and be able to talk about how do we find a way to protect the bikes so that people can ride them to be in our parks. We have a bicycle group, Bike Rossmoor, that actually puts a person in our park for our festivals and watches up to 50 bikes so that we can sit and listen to the events. Why aren't we talking about bike lockers? Why do we have to bring them into places so that we can keep our eyes on them? There's a whole lot of things besides bikes on the road that bikes need to be addressed on, and that's why I'm at monthly meetings trying to get answers from what other places are doing, what we can do, what's reasonable, and what we can ask for, so that we can collectively solve those problems.
Thank you. Konya, the same question. What can be done to ensure safety in the neighborhood regarding e-bike riding for pedestrians, vehicle drivers, and e-bike operators alike?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I frequent Rossmoor Park a lot, and there's been many times where there's been some hit and misses myself with me walking my dog with e-bikes. So I'm really not real thrilled to see the e-bikes being ridden on the actual turf of our park, ruining our turf. Some of these kids are really tearing it up. And so one of the things I would do is, and it's been a growing problem with lots of other cities in Southern California, is kind of take a survey and see what are other cities doing to deal with this. Some of them have policies in place, and kind of see what are other cities doing, and maybe we could mirror some of that. Obviously, we want to share the road with bikes and cars and people and everything else, but you know, it is a complex issue. I think maybe some type of safety workshops at schools, getting more education out to the parents who purchase these bikes for their kids. I don't think they realize how fast these things go and what their kids are doing. I've seen them at Target, one girl riding, one girl on the back, but facing the wrong way. I don't know how she's hanging on. A car stops. I mean, I'm just really waiting for the worst to happen. And I think until, unfortunately, something happens like that, then people are going to start waking up, and that's really unfortunate. I'd like to see maybe some type of safety expo here at Rush Park, where we have some bike information. We invite all the families to come. We invite our fire department and the sheriff department, and provide information, education on bike safety to the residents. But it is definitely a concerning problem and unfortunately very complex.
Tony, I'll repeat the question. What can be done to ensure safety in the neighborhood regarding e-bike riding for pedestrians, vehicle drivers, and e-bike operators alike?
Great, good question, great question. So, and this has been a big deal. We have many people come to our board and complain about this. I certainly see this all the time. I think it comes down to education and enforcement. So the education, I know the CHP has been out and having either bike educational days out in the parking lot here at Rush, but I think also the school district has had educational programs. I know that they're trying to enforce the helmets, but honestly, I don't think many of the parents in Rossmoor understand the dangers giving a 8 or 9-year-old boy or girl either a pedaled or unpedaled electric bike that may go 25 to 35 miles an hour. I don't think parents really understand how dangerous that is. So I would say, again, we don't have the jurisdiction in this, but educating, constantly putting it out there, having programs, talking with the school district. Again, a thought that comes to my mind is, would it be terrible to not permit them to go to school on an e-bike? We used to do that. I mean, we just ride our bike, right? So Again, I don't know if that's going to work, but it is at night here in Rossmoor and at the shops. It is a very dangerous scene when you have 5 to 15 kids on bikes, and they get a little emboldened. And when they're by themselves, they're okay, but when they get 10 or 15, they cause problem and weave inside the traffic. I fear that someone's going to get hurt on the bike, and it's going to be one of our sons and daughters. So again, education. The sheriff needs to either write tickets or bring the bike and the person or the child home to the parent and let them know what is happening. Maybe even video of what they're doing and send that to the parent, because I really think the parents have no idea what these kids are doing on these e-bikes, and I see what I've personally seen is very, very dangerous activity.
All right, for the third question, we'll start with Konya, then Tony, then Mary Ann. And the topic's come up a couple of times. As we're a small community, many of these topics will repeat. But specifically on this one, some residents have noted that our 2 parks seem a bit outdated. If elected, what specific park improvements and upgrades would you support? And what improvements and other community services would you like to see? Konya?
One of the things that I'd like to see is at our parks, particularly on the weekends, is to have a little more supervision on the parks. I know that does cost a little money, but have a part-time rec leader who is there, particularly on the weekends, because that's when a lot of things occur on the parks. I've been there and I've seen kids on top of the containers at Rossmoor Park, climbing up and doing crazy stuff. So I would like to see a little bit more supervision, at least on the weekends, because that's when the parks are really more crowded. Again, making sure that our playgrounds are safe. When was the last inspection that we had on the playground equipment? Making sure that the turf is maintained and there's no holes. We don't want people falling, and that's why bringing back the e-bikes and the regular bikes, these kids are riding on the grass, and then there's kids who are playing on the grass, and there's a hole or whatever because of e-bike. Now we're looking at an accident to happen, and I don't, trying to avoid liability is really key in local government. So I would like to see that. But I just want to make sure that it's well maintained, that, the sidewalks around the park are even and flat. We have a lot of people walking. We have people of all generations walking. And so everything needs just to be well maintained. That's pretty much what I'd like to see at the parks.
Thank you, Konya. Tony, same question. Some residents have noted that our 2 parks seem a bit outdated. If elected, what specific park improvements and upgrades would you support? And what improvements and other community services would you like to see?
And I only have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you got to remember that we only have a budget of just under $2 million a year. Okay, so what I would like to see is, I would like to see all kinds of things, but what can Rossmoor afford is something else. But certainly, we've, I don't know, in terms of outdated, I don't know how outdated this park is. The facility in here has been improved. We've got brand new flooring. We rent this out now. We put in actually a dance floor here, which hopefully we can get more use out of it. Could we get some more grant funding? We got a grant in the last few years for $160,000. We're making good use out of that. We've resurfaced our courts. We put new soft sand in the volleyball. It would be great to improve the parks and build things, but as we all know, in California and everywhere, building something is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I would love to, build out and make things, improved in terms of whether it's for the kids or for the senior citizens. I can say this, that if, it's brought up that, maybe some of our things are not ADA compliant. If something's in our park is not ADA compliant, and I know about it, we're gonna fix it. So I don't know of anything that we're not ADA compliant. Another thing here at Rush is I'd like to have more bathrooms, so when we have festivals for hundreds of people, we're more accommodating. So that's would be, again, that's an expensive improvement, but that's something that I would be for. I think that, the maintenance, and I mean, I believe we do a very good job on the maintenance. We just reseeded out here at Rush, the lawn. It gets, we use our parks a lot. Certainly there is wear and tear, but things cost so much. Even a new kid playground, where it used to cost a few $100,000 is a few $1 million now. So we just need to either put money aside, get matching grant money to improve. I would be for all of that. Anything to improve our parks, to make them up to date or more up to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Mary Ann, same question.
You're
Similar-
probably hitting one of my hot buttons.
Well,
The
you
one-
want the question or you got it?
Go ahead and read it.
Okay. Some residents have noted, you're not stealing my thunder, it's okay. Some residents have noted that our two parks seem a bit outdated. If elected, what specific park improvements and upgrades would you support? And what improvements in other community services would you like to see?
The first thing that I would support, again, is policies and plans, because our parks do not have a 5-year capital improvement plan. We don't talk about what we're going to do next year and the next year and the next year. We talk about what do we want in the budget this year. And we're normally talking about fixing and repairing. And the grant that we got, a $185,000 grant that had 20% on top of that to make improvements to our park. We're still working on it. It has one actual improvement to it, and that is a canopy that's taken 5 years. The one that was improved before in Rush Park was put in place in 2014, and it was 5 months from start to finish. That's just one item in a park. What do we need to do? How do we need to do it? You can't get grant money if you can't tell them how you're going to use the money. We got the grant we have because it was a non-competitive grant that said, you pay taxes, you get it. There were 4 rounds after that that we could have applied for competitively, and we had nothing to compete with. So what we need is a plan to say, what are we doing? How is it working? And how's it going together? That's just the money aspect. When we get to the other aspect and we put things in place in our park, have we looked at what our residents want and what they need and how it works? And I hate to bring up this horrible word of pickleball, but putting pickleball in the middle of a park 2 months after you bring the guy in talking about the wonderful robin nests in the park that are no longer there anymore because pickleball is annoying them too. There's appropriate uses, and pickleball probably should be here. It's a great exercise. But we really need to look at what we're doing, where we're doing things, and how it affects all of our residents, because it's our residents' community open space properties, and it needs to serve us now and into the future. And we have to talk about what we can do and not what we're limited from doing. We have 4 brand new playgrounds in our schools, planned for. We have 3 communities that used their grant money as match money, working with other communities to raise more money to improve their parks. We're resurfacing and repatching and maintaining because we can't figure out how to do better. And that's not a complaint on what we've done, because our parks are really good, but we can do so much more if we work together as a community. And to that, I would like to talk about RHA and the full community that paid for both of our playgrounds through raising money. When you see those painted tiles, those were $100 a piece as a match with the manufacturer of the playground equipment to make sure that our kids were ADA compliant, and that was done in 2014. That's the type of thing we can do and we should be doing.
Thank you, Marianne. The next question, and I'll give you the order, will be Tony, Marianne, and Konya. Okay. Are there any specific areas that you believe RCSD should have more or less local control related to service contracts within Rossmoor, and what are the pros and cons of each?
I think in 1986, I wasn't here, but I think we should have, we didn't have to take them all over, but we should have asked for all of the latent powers. So we all heard tonight, and thank you, RHA, for bringing all our candidates and elected leaders here. But every time Rossmoor, needs to or wants to hear information about, let's say, a trash contract, we are held to what the county wants. We have to go through somebody who does not live in Rossmoor. Okay, so I would say any and all contracts that have to do with the unincorporated area of Rossmoor should be managed by the RCSD. I mean, it's plain and simple. It's local elected leaders managing a contract, okay? We meet every second Tuesday of every month. We have, all these contracts would go through committees, just like our street sweeping. Again, I hear that we're having, a little bit of issues with some street sweeping problems. We manage that contract. We can bring the contractor back in, okay? On trash, we can't, okay? Trash goes to the county. Vector control, county. Mosquito, county. Animal control, county. The coyotes come and kill all our pets. We rely on the county. That's the county contracts, not our contract. So I would say, I would want to look at all. I'm not saying I would want to take them all over. I would want to have it should be the residents of Rossmoor that dictate all of who contracts here. We should be able to have control over all of that. And that's just how I feel. We don't need to be a city to do that. Okay, the RCSD can do that. We just have to have that power to do it. So that's my opinion. I would say if it's doable and we can handle it, the county makes more money than the contract a lot of times. And I know that taxation, great question. I've never heard of the 5%, okay, that you asked the assembly members. Are we getting all our money that we should be getting? Who knows? I mean, it's a formula that they devised in 1986. Have we looked at it? Are we getting all our money back? I know my house has doubled in price. Are we getting all our proper taxes back? And the more we take over, the more benefit locally our residents are going to have. Thank you.
Marianne, excuse me, the same question. Are there any specific areas that you believe the RCSD should have more or less local control related to service contracts within Rossmoor, and what are the pros and cons that you see related to those?
I think, first of all, I need to say that I am a proponent of local control. If we did not have local control, we would not have our parks, we would not have the RCSD. Rossmoor wanted to take care of 2 parcels of land, and the county carved out money for us to be able to have control of our land and what to do with it and how to manage it. My concern about getting more or less control at this point is I don't see where we're getting anything more overhead and administration. We get $2 million a year to run our parks. And of that $2 million, half of it is going to administration and overhead. And we talk about not being able to afford things in our parks. So when you talk about things with getting more contract and oversight of Vector and stormwater and those things, let's turn our eyes inward. I was sent a picture today of gutter water running through and by our parks. We're telling people all the time, don't let your properties do that, because when your properties are spilling over into the gutters. It's going into the stormwater. When it goes into the storm drains, algae happens. If we're telling our residents that, our directors and our administration needs to look at the same thing because it's breeding grounds for mosquitoes. We can take care of minimizing some of our own mosquitoes instead of saying, I want more control to tell somebody else to do more and better for us, because all that does is raise the overhead in the paperwork, and we need more money coming into our parks as opposed to approving and asking for more to do that's already being managed by our county, as evidenced by all the times we hear, we don't have oversight of that. We don't have oversight of that. We're not going to start doing those jobs. We're just going to tell other people to do the jobs different. We need to be using our money, our local control money, to run our parks. And when those are going great and we can no longer do it, let's reach out and get more. But to ask for more when we can do better in our parks first, that's what I'm for.
Thank you, Marianne. Konya, same question. Are there any specific areas that you believe the RCSD should have more or less control related to service contracts within Rossmoor, and what are the pros and cons of those issues?
Thank you. I think the district should be more involved in all the contracts that affect Rossmoor, whether it's trash or animal control. And I would like to work closer with our new supervisor. We're going to get a new supervisor for Rossmoor, and the district needs to work closely with our supervisor to make sure that we're represented in those contracts, that we get to take a look at them and maybe have some type of say in it. And I think that's really important. The other thing is that having worked for a city or cities for over 30 years, things are expensive. And so, I'm not in favor of us taking over things that we cannot manage or maintain without having to tax ourselves to death. So, we're unincorporated, and we only have certain powers, but I would like to see more involvement for us as the district, as the directors, to be involved in some of the say of those contracts, because it does affect us. And the county seat in Santa Ana doesn't necessarily come over here and see what's going on. And so we just need to make our voice louder. And I think having a new supervisor will give us that opportunity that we could work closely with them to have more involvement in some of these contracts, like the trash contract, like some of the things happening in public works that affect Rossmoor. So that's something that I would like to see. But cost is an issue, and things are very expensive now. To do improvements anywhere cost millions of dollars, and so we just don't have that kind of money. And I certainly am not in favor of taxing our residents to death to become incorporated. So that's really how I feel about that.
All right, we're on to our final question. After this question, you'll each have a short time to share any final thoughts that you have. And the order for this question will be Mary Ann, then Konya, and we'll end with Tony on this question. Little context and then the question. I guess I get the context questions of the evening. In a recent...
nicer voice.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't think so. We all know that's not true. In a recent survey, less than 250 responses were received from residents related to community service improvements here within Rossmoor. How specifically do you plan to get greater involvement from residents to better guide decision-making to address the evolving needs within the community? And we'll start with Mary Ann.
First of all, I would start with improving communication. We all know that it's getting more and more difficult to get the word out. We have a newspaper that we are trying desperately to help stay in business, because I believe in power of journalism and journalism rights and things that are going on. I believe in helping our seniors learn about the internet and how to use email and social media safely, not because they have to, but because it's another option. When we can get the word out in as many ways as possible, we get more than 200 responses. There was one stat that we were given that said about, I think it was 1,400 or 1,500 emails went out to the community, and within a half an hour, after midnight, 200 of them were opened within a half an hour. These are the type of things that when I see surveys that have a response of 250 people, and we are a community of 10,500 people, we're not reaching our community. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is, as a district, in the policy, and I hate being the policy person, but it says that the RCSD will be sending out a newsletter quarterly to our community. We haven't had one since 2022. These are the things, either change the policy or get the information out. But communication is at the core of what we need to do to be able to get things moving differently.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Konya, same question. In a recent survey, less than 250 responses were received from residents related to community service improvements in Rossmoor. How specifically do you plan to get greater involvement from residents to better guide decision-making to address the evolving needs within our community?
Thank you. What I would like to see is more periodic workshops and meetings to obtain the residents' input on issues occurring in Rossmoor. And by getting the word out, whether it's social media, newsletters. I know that the district had a newsletter. I don't know if I've seen it as of late. The Homeowners Association has also, put a lot of information out for residents. But I also know that a lot of residents are busy with their lives and their kids, and they just go about their day and they don't think about that. So, I think with, the district directors, having more workshops or informal meetings, whether it's by neighborhoods or piggybacking on neighborhood watch meetings and getting input from residents, just to see what, take the temperature of the neighborhoods of the different areas and see what it is that, the issues are and how, they can be addressed and possibly and hopefully solved.
Tony, same question. Last question of the evening. In a recent survey, less than 250 responses were received from residents related to community service improvements in Rossmoor. How specifically do you plan to get greater involvement from residents to better guide decision-making to address the evolving needs within our community?
It's a constant struggle. So as a current board member, I love it when there's 50 or 75 people in our meeting, okay? Whether it's because we did something wrong or people have other opinions, because you get engagement. Most of the time, it's crickets out there at our meetings. So we have 12 meetings a year, and we have, 35 to 50 committee meetings that are noticed. We have a brand new website. We have social media. As Konya has said, people just have busy lives, okay? I know when I got on this board, I would say more than half of Rossmoor didn't even know we had a district, okay? So, and I'm sure there's a large percentage that still doesn't know we have a service district with elected board members. So I know that the current board and the current district is doing everything it can to engage in our community. We have family fun festivals, we have winter festivals, we do have meetings and town halls and stuff like that. I would say that, the RHA puts out a magazine. We stopped putting out a magazine, I think, after COVID, okay? But now we send it digitally. But RHA still puts out, I believe, a paper magazine. Sounds great. I love getting a paper magazine. I'd love to partner with RHA. Our CSD should partner with RHA to send out a paper magazine, if that's what the community wants. So we need to ask the community what they want. But its engagement has been, it's not for lacking of trying, it's just hard to engage Rossmoor when pretty much most of the time everything is perfect here. Everything's good here. Okay, we live in an incredible community. Okay, we have great schools, our houses are worth a lot of money, low crime. I spoke up about catalytic converters being stolen. That's what we talk about, okay? The negative on our parks is not crime or anything, it's pickleball. That's the negative about our parks, okay? We live in a wonderful community. We certainly can do better and make improvements, but getting people engaged is a tricky thing. And a lot of people just, we'll worry about it tomorrow. So I think that we continue working with websites, social media, paper. Paper's just a tough one. Thank you.
Certainly want to thank each one of you for recognizing the time frame. That is very honorable, and it speaks volumes to all of us. Thank you for that. Well, we do have a closing opportunity for each of you. It's going to be a 1-minute closing remarks for you. It's going to be Konya, Tony, and Mary Ann would be the order. And I don't have to ask you a question because you're just going to tell me what you want to summarize after this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, just to recap, I'm interested in joining the Rossmoor Community Service District as a director. I want to make sure that the district's policies are adhered to and that public funds are spent on fiscally responsible projects and programs that benefit all the residents of Rossmoor. I know that we have limited authority, but I want to make sure that county services are provided to Rossmoor in a timely manner. And I believe that my experience working in local government over the last 30 years will allow the district to straighten this relationship with the county and the surrounding cities. So that's why I'm interested in being one of the directors for the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Konya. Tony?
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm doing this, RHA. So let's see. Let's just go. Let's just go in the last few years. We've enhanced the tree permit process. We've converted all the LED lights. We've completely overhauled the street sweeping to allow our residents, because this was a huge deal, to give our residents parking options. Again, we still are working on enforcement, though, but we definitely have options for our residents. We have incredible programs at the parks right now. We're developing senior programs. We have fantastic summer festivals with thousands of people attending. Things that I would like to, I already mentioned one, I'd like to look into, and I do this at the meetings too. I might have ideas, but if it's shot down by the community, we just don't do it. I didn't get to it. Come and see me afterwards.
Thank you, Tony. Mary Ann?
There are 3 seats up for election, and I need one of them. And I'm asking for your vote, but really what I'm asking for is your voice. I want you to bring your concerns about our community and what we can do to make our community great. And in that, I'm asking for, I'll make myself available to you. I think as a director, I don't want another meeting. I want my neighbors socializing with me in the park. I'll bring my sandwich, you bring your sandwich. Let's talk. Let's be friends and neighbors, rather than waiting till there's something to complain about. I really think that it's that we need to focus on our parks as community spaces, as healthy social gathering places. We shouldn't have anybody that feels alone. And our parks are the place we convene as a community. So let's start with that. So let's work together to make this work. I really need your voices. I really need your votes. And it isn't, the ending isn't getting me elected. That's my starting point, and I really want to work with you and have you work with me.
Thank you, Mary Ann. To you, Denise, thank you.